Y'all, I'm just setting up for this video. I look so tiny in the viewfinder and also this leaf. Like, I look so small, oh my gosh. Hello, so this is a houseplant tour. I don't think I've put out a houseplant tour since last spring, so this is very exciting. All my plants in one video. And if y'all are new here, hi, my name is Kevin. I live in Toronto, Canada, and all my plants are here. They're in my bedroom. My bed is here, and then my plants are all here. Oh, Lord. So I'm lying down in my bed, and when I wake up, this is what I see. Oh. It's such a wonderful space. I've told people this before, but it is a totally different climate in this room, especially when it's sunny. It is a lot warmer. It's probably 10% more humid than my living room. Yeah, I try to, maximize space by incorporating vertical shelving with these wire shelves. And I think it's working. There are plants hidden everywhere. Like you can see under this table, there's probably 10 Hoyas there, I know. We got some propagations, all that stuff. So just a quick rundown about the conditions in this room. And obviously this is gonna differ depending on the season. If we're looking at temperature, it's between 60 degrees Fahrenheit to about 75 degrees Fahrenheit on average. Obviously swinging to the lower temperatures in the winter and then up to 75, sometimes 80 if it's really hot during the summer. Humidity ranges between 35% to 60%. For the lighting, I live in a high-rise building and I have floor-to-ceiling windows. This whole window is a south-facing view. And then over here is my west-facing window. So two of the windows meeting at the corner there. And I know it's a wonderful space to grow plants. And okay, I think the last thing I almost forgot, airflow. There are a ton of vents in this room. So there's one up there and then a couple just over here on this side. I also have a fan that runs all day, all night. And I feel it's something that people don't talk about, but it is very important when you're growing plants. Okay, let's jump into it. We're gonna start in that corner. And so, okay. First plant over here is the Philodendron Glorious. I had a much bigger one before. I did have a spider mite infestation, I think 9 months ago, and that resulted in me propagating the plant. And so I only kept one cutting, but she's good. She's in an aroid mix right now. And if y'all are new, I don't like growing plants in soil or aroid mixes, so it's one of my only plants that's in an aroid mix. There's a chance I might give it away, but look at this beautiful leaf. It is stunning. Moving on, Philodendron McDowell. So this is one of my props. I had a massive plant. I'm just so happy that it's bounced back. I cut the big plant into these little stem cuttings. It took quite a while just because the plant couldn't generate enough energy. Other leaf over here kind of has some light damage just because she was under a grow light initially, but this one is living here. She's living in pond. Pond is like a substrate that's like a bunch of lava rock, zeolite, and slow release fertilizer. This is the king of all kings. This is the king Anthurium. Anthurium Veitchii, known for being so tough and also the abs on the leaves. Look at that. The newest leaf does have damage. There was a moment where I forgot to water this plant. Sometimes when you miss waterings, the leaf has a harder time coming out. And it happens a lot with Anthuriums. But look at how, this is my hand. Look how big this leaf is. It's such a beautiful plant and it is one that I recommend. Look at how much it's sized up. This is one of the older leaves compared to that one. Wow, okay, next to it is an Anthurium that people don't really talk about. It's the Anthurium esmeraldens. The newest leaf is absolutely gorgeous. I have been obsessed with this leaf for so long and it doesn't get enough attention. I think it's generally easy. The juvenile leaves don't really look that impressive, I guess. This is one of the older leaves, that's why she's starting to yellow on the edges. But yeah, it kind of just looks like a grocery store Anthurium, but once it matures, it gets so long. You can see the ribbing. Yeah, fantastic. They're both living in Lechuza Pond like the McDowell, and it's my preferred medium when I'm growing Anthuriums. I kind of need to sneak this way. Oh gosh. In this corner, I have a Monstera Aurea. Now, she's getting pretty tall, and she does have a new leaf there, but it's a small leaf Monstera with yellow variegation. And I know it's pretty polarizing, but yellow variegation is so beautiful in my opinion. There's another leaf there. Yellow variegation is so interesting because you might not necessarily see the yellow variegation when the new leaf comes out, but once it hardens off, you kind of get that color over there. So it's always a surprise. This is the pot. She's living in Leca. It's a 3-gallon bucket with a net pot. And you can see that I was in the process of air layering it, and I do need to chop it. So there are a few more leaves. They are crisping up because sometimes yellow variegation can crisp up just because of the lack of green. And then my pride and joy, my Monstera Constellation. So this is the newest leaf. Fenestrations just all over, and I have been obsessed with this plant. This is also my oldest plant in my collection. I got this about 3.5 years ago, and she has grown so much. It's funny because the newest leaf, and I'm just gonna put my hand in front of it, the newest leaf isn't even my biggest leaf. The biggest leaf is the leaf before. Oh gosh, this plant's in the way. It's right over here. Look at that. What a beautiful leaf. Fenestrations are just to die for. There's 9 leaves, and they're all the same size. I'll give you an example. Okay, there's 2 leaves here, but the oldest leaf is under here. She is a bit smaller, I guess, but they're still gigantic. Living in a 5-gallon bucket of leca. The roots have gone past the net pot into the reservoir. I've generally had no issues. I've had issue with the roots just growing and, you know, me not having a place for it. So I'm definitely going to have to chop her soon. Look how thick the stem is. Like, I do feel a new leaf. The new leaf is there. When I feel over here, there is something new. So that's so exciting and so wild. Who's ready for leaf number 10? I don't know if I'm ready. Okay, before we continue this way, I almost forgot that this shelf is here. Now, I don't have a lot of plants here. And part of the reason is because there was a moment in the winter where the Thai constellation leaves were just under here, and that was okay because there wasn't a lot of light during the winter time. So I had to move all the plants onto different shelves. Currently in this bin, we have a Hoya. It's your lucky day, everyone. She's in bloom. Hoya CV Patchawaralai, also known as Icensis. Beautiful pink centers with like a cream. The leaves are also, you know, in my opinion, beautiful. They're green, but they do have a black margin or border, and it's just beautiful. So resilient. You can see that she's also working on more flowers. This plant is always in bloom. You can see here some dried up blooms. There's more just over there. And the reason why I have it in a bin is because there is so much nectar that comes off of the blooms, and the blooms, because this plant keeps blooming, there's just this mess. So I just need something to catch everything. So beautiful. So I believe, and I've seen results, this one being an example of Hoyas liking and preferring a ton of light. Not all the time, but in general, that's what I see. Moving on, Philodendron Strawberry Shake. So I have about, I want to say 4 plants in here. Oh my god, the luck is gonna drop, guys. So known for its, you know, variegated leaves. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I know a lot of people don't like this plant. I did have this against my south-facing window, but I found that nothing was happening with new growth, and so I did put her under a grow light. If we want to look at the roots, they're going off. Look at this healthy root system here. I get a lot of questions about if this is okay for plants, will they rot? In my experience, there are a few plants that are totally fine with the roots staying in the reservoir, including the Monstera Constellation. I just like to monitor and see how they grow. And so yeah, this is only the first strawberry shake. I have a ton more. Okay, moving back to the gigantic plant. So it's hard to show the whole plant. I did put out a favorites video a few weeks ago, and it was a hassle bringing this plant out, but this is the Anthurium Metallicum. One of my, do you know what? It's my favorite Anthurium. And so we have a planter here. That leaf is going that way, and then the one before that is going this way, and it's a gigantic leaf. There is damage because she had a hard time coming out, but because she's kind of here in the way, there have been a lot of times where I've walked into it. These tears have gotten bigger because I've bumped into it. So it's totally my bad, but look at how big this leaf. I know I talked about this in the beginning. Oh my god, the camera's falling. It's incredible. I don't know, I think it's incredible. There are 2 leaves. So there's one against the south-facing window. You can see that she's a bit yellow and bleached. And is this a lot of light? A south-facing window during the summer. Is this a lot of light for this particular Anthurium? I do think it is. But just seeing how this leaf is facing this way and not facing towards a window. It is facing the west-facing window, however, it is pretty far. And then the other leaf being covered by the Thai constellation, it becomes tricky. Moving on, Anthurium Magnificum crossed with Regale. This one was a pup from my mother plant. I did chop her, and she is working on an inflow. So we'll see how that does. Like I said, so I chopped her over here, and so yeah, right over here with these big paddle-like leaves, this is the Philodendron Bono. Now, Bonos, depending on the temperature, you can have this block-like variegation, but a lot of the time, you'll just have subtle speckling. Anyhow, moving on to this table. So again, I've tried my best to utilize the space I have, and by putting the Hoyas down here with 2 LED grow lights and up against the south-facing window, it really ensures that they get a ton of light. Honestly, I think that's the reason why they're so big and full, but we'll talk about that later. Let's move on to this area. So it's a lot of my big plants. You know, it can obviously be challenging putting these plants under grow lights unless you have like vertical grow lights. And let's talk about one of my favorites right now. So moving to this one, this is the Anthurium Decipiens. So the new leaf is to die for right over there. There are 2 older leaves that are crisping and yellowing. Totally normal. I like to keep my leaves until they totally yellow and crisp up. You could kind of already see that with this other Anthurium here, but these leaves still have green. They're still acting as solar panels to take in the sunlight, and you can see that the sun is starting to come out from behind buildings, take in light to make energy for the plant. Also, plants can take mobile nutrients from older growth and use it for the newer growth. So let's look at the newer growth. Oh my gosh, absolutely obsessed. I'm gonna try not to break it. Oh my gosh. And it's against the light, so y'all won't be able to see. So here she is. Love this plant so much. I'll probably put one of my Instagram reels to kind of show how beautiful it is. But yeah, she seems pretty happy against the south-facing window here. I'm really sad I'm not going to be able to move the next one, but you kind of already saw one already. Right over here in this bucket of leca, we have another Monstera Aurea. So I took a top cutting from the mother plant in that corner. And so she's here. She has pushed out, I want to say 4 leaves, and there is a new one right there. So the main reason why I took a top cutting from my Aurea is because she started, I guess the variegation started to disappear. I still like the look of a larger leaf Monstera, even though it's still a small leaf Monstera. And so I wanted this one to get really big. I might put a clip from a favorites video where I showcase this plant. And I think one of my reels, there's me showing its incredible root system. And it's another example of the plant not minding the root sitting. Another big thing, this is a moss pole. I got these moss poles from North Shore Tropicals, and you can see new root growth right over there. It's really latched on. And I don't know if you can see, but Future Kevin, zoom in. Look at this root. For some plants, it is the key to getting large growth. Not all the time, but you know, it's a thing that can help. Once a plant, and specifically with this Monstera, once it feels secure in where it is, and it has something to lean onto, the rate of leaf growth is incredible. So that's what's happening with this one, because I don't even think the newest leaf was hardened off before she pushed out that one over there. So what a stunner. You can see that the leaves are all facing the window, and she's happy. Can we just take a moment? I am so happy with this Queen Anthurium. I've had, you know, a hard time with this plant, but no, I think she's finally happy-ish, at least. I want to say she's pretty happy. There is another leaf, and it is right over there. It's pushed up against the south-facing window. You know, Anthuriums like the Queen, they don't necessarily need a ton of light, but because she was pushing out a new leaf, I wanted to make sure it was generating enough energy to sustain such large leaves. Before that, she was actually living here, so further away from the window here and no grow light. So I made a collar and it looks hilarious. I used like old deli containers that I didn't really have a use for the deli containers, and so I just cut a bunch and taped them, put additional pon just because the stem was so big and I wasn't ready to chop her. And then moving forward, I just have a moss pole here so the roots can go into the moss, and like I said before, it'll feel secure and hopefully go off from there. I do want to show the next one just because I love her so much. Anthurium Furcatum. I'm just gonna pull it out. So also called the Tesla plant. The leaves are shaped like T's. As it matures, you'll get like these lobes just off to the side, just drooping down. But the leaves are so beautiful. It is super stunning. So she is pushing out inflow. It's the first time. There's one, there's a second one here. I'm just gonna let this grow. We'll see what happens. I normally cut them off because I like to focus on the foliage of a plant, but we'll see. Yes, I'm grabbing a chair because I need to show you the Monstera Burle Marx flame. Living here, and the newest leaf, such a spooky looking plant. Like, look at this. Other leaves, so the one that has the most fenestrations is this one. It is such a beautiful plant, and it's one that I'm so obsessed with. I'm really obsessed when, you know, you get these leaves that look like lobster claws. Anyhow, I have it attached to a moss pole here. Same idea as the Aurea, and I'll put in some videos or clips. This plant, how beautiful it is. The progression of the leaves is just stunning, and they all look different. I really can't wait for this one to grow more fenestrations and mature. It is just a show-stopping plant, really. Oh my god, I'm up here with the queen. Look how big. I'm sorry, I'm showing the queen again. I am obsessed. Okay, now we'll talk about this. So I'll probably cut her soon. I also look at the petiole. So looking at the new leaf petiole, it is hydrated, it is round, it is firm. Looking at the old one, it has some, I wanted to say dimpling, but I don't know if that's the right term. Usually at this point, I would cut it. Yeah, looking at the petiole to see when it's time. The plant has used all the mobile nutrients from the older growth to channel into the newer growth. And so here she is. So I'm very mad at myself because I did miss a watering. And so now when I watered it, that's when this damage started. That was already there. That one's actually just me probably bumping into it. But like these two are brand new right after watering. So it is sad, still gorgeous. Okay. This is my bigger Philodendron McDowell. She is gorgeous. I do have her up against a moss pole. I know they're crawling plants, guys. I know. I've done it before. Future Kevin put in a video. I've done it before and she's gorgeous. So this is a new experiment where I see how it grows up a moss pole. People have done it before. It looks stunning. Like I first saw this like a year or two ago. Someone grew, it was either McDowell or Passizanum up a moss pole, and it is just so gorgeous, but I love these leaves. So I just transferred it. You can see that she's over here and these leaves are up against the south-facing window. Oh, did y'all see that? The Jose Buono whipped me. Yes, he wanted attention. This is my second, oh gosh, I can't even show this. My second Jose Buono up against a moss pole, and you can see all the beautiful roots in the moss pole. She's up to the top. I might give this away. I'm not sure. It is just too big. Like, yeah, she's too big, especially because I have another big one over there, so I'll probably give this away. One of the comeback kids in my collection. This is the Philodendron Melanochrysum. You know, once they mature, they're just everything. They just have the dark foliage, long leaves, and just show-stopping, I would say. Look at this. So before, you can see she's not up against the south-facing window. She used to be right there. As a result, started yellowing on the edges, because she was getting too much light. So when the new leaf was coming out, I made sure to move it, and she looks so happy. She is much smaller. I may have missed a watering, but she's bouncing back. I love it. Moss pole again, you know. It's something, a year ago, none of my plants were on moss poles, but now I see the benefit with a lot of my plants. So up a moss pole, and just so beautiful. Okay, I'm on the chair again, because I want to show y'all the Rhaphidophora pertusa. This is the newest leaf. What a weird like fenestration pattern. Like you'll get holes first. Oh my gosh, if I put a mouth right below it, it looks like a scary Halloween face. Wow, that is hilarious. Previous leaf, you know, kind of had that same pattern. It's just, again, a plant that no one pays attention to. I don't know why, but it's just so beautiful. Look at this, so beautiful. Yeah, they start out looking like this, like really like not impressive. They do push out fenestrations like one at a time. They do break through eventually. I am trying to give it more light because she was in a spot that didn't have a lot of light. So I'm hoping now with the addition of the moss pool and, you know, up against the south facing window, and now it's summertime, she'll take off. There is a new leaf. She was bending into the honeycombs here. So I'm not sure if she's gonna have damage. Oh, she will. There's some over there. Oh well, that's okay. Okay, before we move on to specifically the Thai Constellation props and Jose Bonos, there's some Hoyas there, some beautiful philodendrons at the top. I do want to go through all of these Hoyas. These are my biggest Hoyas, and you know, I've done a good job trying to push them up against each other, but once they're out, they do take up a lot of space, so I'm gonna have to put the tripod just stationary while I show you each one. But again, there are 2 LED strip lights above each row, and they're up against the south-facing window. There was a moment where I tried to grow these Hoyas up against my south-facing window without the grow lights, and they didn't push out new growth. They actually did suffer a little bit just because during that time there was a bunch of cloudy days, and it's hard to predict, even though it's spring and summer, when there's going to be sun outside. So ever since I did this, they're just so chaotic. Okay, one of my absolute favorite plants, and she's in bloom, Hoya Cutis Porcelana. Oh, she's in bloom. She's beautiful. I can't even. Cutis Porcelana, meaning porcelain skin. The blooms, they do have a porcelain sheen to them. I'm gonna include a clip. I don't know how clear it's gonna be, but these flowers are small, they're shiny, they have these like reddish centers, and also there are a ton of buds ready to go. How exciting. Just in case the footage was lost, I have these. Look at that. And then over here, is just so crazy. When they're up against the grow light, they do sun stress. If you give it a lot of light, you do see some sun stressing at the top. Not that much, but a little bit. And I have it on a trellis. I just kept wrapping all the vines around, and yeah, she's living in HOUSEPLANT, another substrate I do like growing Hoyas in. I also like growing them in Leca as well. She is just everything. Another one in bloom. This is a hybrid, so I kind of like that how the foliage is just on one side. It's, I don't know, I think it's so odd and I love it, but this is the Hoya Vitellinoides crossed with species UT001. Future Kevin put in a clip of the flowers up close. They're yellow. You know, I've actually had a hard time with this Hoya blooming. It gets really close to blooming and then the blooms just drop. Again, ever since I put them under the grow light, all these Hoyas, the blooms have really started waking up. And so yeah, I guess I'll show them again. They look beautiful. Yeah, so do you see how like this spur or peduncle, it is so long? It's not because it's bloomed so much. It's tried so many times to bloom. I think in total for this peduncle specifically, it's only pushed out blooms twice or 3 times. So not a lot for it being this long. I'm not sure if it was a nutrient thing because even though I was feeding it nutrient solution before, it wasn't doing it. So I'm thinking it's light. I'm really thinking it's the light. This is my biggest Hoya, my fullest Hoya. I'm sad because she was in bloom earlier, like a few days ago, and the blooms don't last. Miss Hoya, Hanhiae, pink flowers. So I'm just gonna rotate her. Am I showing off? Maybe. It's so heavy. I almost dropped it. Look at this. I'm gonna get hit by the tendrils. Oh my gosh. Look, it's covering my whole entire body. Look at this. So this one's been very challenging just because she's gotten too tall. You can see that the grow lights, essentially the grow lights are touching the top, and it's kind of difficult because I don't have another place to put it where there's highlight. But she looks pretty happy though. I think she does, I don't know. Okay, now that that row of Hoyas are gone, there's actually 3 rows. So technically there's a middle row with these 4 Hoyas, and then there's a back row as well. Those are the 2 grow lights, and yeah, let's continue, I guess. If y'all are into large leaf Hoyas, this is one for you. This is the Hoya Sulawesi GPS 8867. And I mean, look at how large. So stunning and big. This is one of the newer leaves. This was one that wasn't doing anything until I put it under that situation. And she's actually pushed out a new growth from the base. Look at this. Some of that splashing there, so pretty. Yeah, I don't know. It's always so exciting seeing big leaf Hoyas push out a ton of growth. I find it difficult sometimes. I do feel like they do need a ton of support. Ooh, I broke off. I'm sad now. The tip broke off. You can see the sap. Oh, it's not focusing.
It's not focusing, but the tip just snapped, so.
Every time that happens, when you have the main growth and the tip breaks off, it'll just push out new growth from different nodes. So you can see here, that is exactly what she's doing here. I don't know. Do y'all like big leaf Hoyas? I'm obsessed. And I think this is an example of the roots sitting in the reservoir, I was right, and not caring. They don't care. You can see that she's perfectly happy. Just change the nutrient solution every 2 to 4 weeks and it should be okay. I have a video about that, my complete guide to growing plants in leca and passive hydroponics. Hoya Glabra, Schlecter. Look at this gigantic leaf. Are you kidding? It's my head. Yeah, I love how big. Again, it's like the Sulawesi. She really only had leaves down here. I introduced a trellis. Now there's a ton of leaves at the top and you know, they are getting kind of close to the grow light. You can see that there is burn over there. Specifically, this one needs a lot of support. Look at this leaf. Are you kidding? Y'all, I just love when they're full like this. I mean, this one isn't even that full. You can see that it's kind of naked at the top, but wow, look at that. Ooh, one of my faves. Ooh, Hoya Clemensiorum. So I know there are different types. I know there's an Indonesia one. It was just sold to me as a Clemensiorum, so I'm not sure if there's like a specific type this one is, but look at all these long leaves. And Kyle, this Hoya says hi. Oh, it just looks so prehistoric, just with the veining, and also like when the new leaves come out, they're so dark. I love it. So those are 2 new leaves. This is the second one. Just beautiful. And really, it looks so beautiful with all these long leaves hanging. I love it. And I think this is another one where the roots are in the reservoir and they don't mind. Moving on to one of my most ignored Hoyas, the Hoya Gray Ghost. So she's on this trellis and you know, it's known for having just this beautiful silver in the leaves. Oh, and it presents differently sometimes. Like these top leaves here, it's more of a powdered silver. Is that a thing? I don't know, but she's here. I do want to give this one more light, but it's just hard space-wise. She's living in leca. You'll see that I just love silver in all my plants. So that's her. So look how much space that first row of Hoyas take. And then we have the second row that I just showed you, and then we have the last row. Now this last row is getting a ton of light. And is there a particular reason why I chose these Hoyas to be, you know, getting, I guess, the highest light possible? Wonderful view, you know, being down low here. Even though there's a table over here, they are still getting that view of the sun when it's high up in the sky, that one grow light here. So specifically Hoya Sulawesi, Hoya Kaimuki, Hoya Archboldiana, they do need a ton of light. This middle one here, Hoya species NS05021, can take a lot of light. Doesn't necessarily need a lot of light, it can take a lot of light and not suffer or burn. And that's just based on my experience growing these Hoyas for 3 years now. I'm pretty sure this Hoya Sulawesi Albo Marginata was my first Hoya. That with the Australis Lisa, but look at this. I've had to propagate it a few times. You can see that right where that grow light is, and you know, this is like what the sun hits first, and it is like incredibly full at the top. Like, I don't show this plant a lot because she's all the way in the back there, but wow, like it is incredible like how full it is up top here. And on top of that, there's another node down here. This is new growth. This is brand new growth. I just love the out of irrigation. Look at this. I mean, honestly, guys, I'm shocked because, like, again, I don't look at this plant. It is so full up here. What is going on? And there's, I don't know. It's funny because the hoop bamboo situation trellis ended here and she's still going. So I'm gonna have to just add another one. I'll do that in like a plant tour video, but I'm just gonna have to add another one. Wow, and then find a new home for you. Hoya CV Kaimuki. Now, one of the highlights of this year, even though it's not over, this Hoya push out a flower for me. Now, I didn't mention this before, but when this Hoya pushed out a flower, it had, I want to say like 6 buds, and all of them fell out except for one. And that's this one. Beautiful cup pink flowers, and they smell sweet. It's not overpowering. And like I said, I've had this Hoya for since 2020, 3.5 years, I would say. And I was so pleased to see that flower. A similar Hoya, Archboldiana, pink flowers. So absolutely massive, absolutely massive. It is one of my older Hoyas. It's 4 years that I've had this. Nope, it's only been 3. It's only been 3 years since I got this Hoya, but this Hoya needs a ton of support. You can see I have a hoop trellis as well as netting. And yeah, similar to the Kaimuki, this is one of the parents of the Kaimuki. So that's why they look quite similar. This one hasn't bloomed for me ever. And so I'm still kind of hanging on to it because I really want it to bloom, but we will see. Hoya species NS. Oh my god, she looks so big. Hoya species NS 05021. No one has this Hoya. I mean, a few people do, but the flowers on this Hoya are probably one of my favorites. Fuzzy, large. I think they look like star yews. So easy, so fast. She's living in pond right now, and she can take a lot. She can take a ton. Look at this, she's so big, vines everywhere. And yeah, I know the foliage might look kind of plain Jane, I've said this before, but once you see those blooms, it is everything. Okay, let me put these all back, and then I will join you guys in talking about these plants on the shelf. Okay, they're all back here. I have to go through these 2 plants first. So this is one of my Thai constellations, one of my propagations. This is the new leaf. Look at that. Wow, cream, that's amazing. Living in Lashusa Pond. Moving her away, this is the top cutting of the Anthurium Magnificum crossed with Regale. So I took a cutting. She had a few arrow roots. I'm a little scared. You can see I'm using tape to just secure her to the pot for now. I put her here because she is tall, and I did want her to get enough hours of light. Just having some grow lights off to the side here. So gorgeous. And you can see really that she is a little bit darker compared to like my Crystalline Magnificum, who's like just classically green, I guess. But yeah, I love her. Okay guys, I guess that's it. So I decided to split this tour in 2 parts. And so part 2 will be coming out on Monday. I actually think there's more plants in part 2. Anyhow, I just rewatched this video and wow, I don't know. I know I see these plants every day, but I was impressed. I don't know. It's just wild, like seeing how big or like how much these plants have grown through all the years that I've had them. And so yeah, it was nice looking at the footage. Again, I have a Patreon, so I want to thank everyone in my Strawberry Shake tier and my Leca Drop tier, but a very special thanks to those in my Monstera Burle Marx Flame tier, my Lobster Claws, Ryan Jones, Marnie McCallum Gerda, Janice Upton, Francesco, Margot T, Remy Pavila, Lisa Mata, Shane Nelson, Crystal, Casey Groves, Daniel Wilcock, Sam Pennypacker, Blaine B, Carlos Halling, Dina Alexandra, Corlin Walters, Storm McCroy, Rosie Ramos, Kendra Prum, Stephanie McGinnis, Soda Rocks, Danny Alley, Alicia D, Courtney Evans, Simone, Kiki in the Garden, and Artie. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the very end, thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Bye!